like to welcome everybody to the special meeting of Civic Association. I'm Michelle Toyanet, current president of the association. Also, I want to thank St. Charles Clean Fuels for agreeing to speak in this meeting and help us learn more about their project in St. Rose. Uh, Before we get to that, if any of you are not OCA members, please consider joining. It's only $35 a year. And we have a lot of things that are happening. We have revitalized the organization. We have a lot of community events, neighborly type events, and youth vacation projects throughout the neighborhood. So please encourage your friends and your neighbors to join us. And you could, if you're not a member, if you join tonight, you have people helping others sign up. So with that, I'd like to introduce Chandra Stacey from the St. Charles Clean Fuel.
Thank you, Michelle. That's it. I was looking at my watch because I was saying good morning to people earlier today. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today to share some information about St. Charles Clean Fuels. We are committed to continuing to provide opportunities for the neighbors and the parish residents to learn more about this project, and we're grateful that you took the opportunity to join us today. I'm getting ready to introduce the project developer as well as our project engineer, who have been very, very instrumental in all of the things that this project is about. And so they can get really, really deep into it, into the weeds. You'll be able to see that. And collectively, they have more than 60 years of experience in industry. And I know that St. Charles Parish has industry up and down a corridor. And so Parish has been a great place to come and see how this project can be developed. So I'm going to introduce our project developer and director, Ramesh Ramon, and John Bagley, who was our project engineer.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll give you a bit of an overview of the project. We're permitting two projects here. One, each project will be a 4,000 ton per day ammonia project. We'll build them as we get. We build them as we get demand. We are permitting and engineering for two. The location of the facility is behind the IMTT site, I'd say about a mile and a half from the river. And the nearest resident is about half a mile from us. We're sort of in that swamp area in the back of the property. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is, but we got some maps that will show you. We can point you to where those are. We've optioned about 230 acres at IMTT. We look to consume about 180 acres, with the rest of it remaining as wetlands. Part of the requirements there is extensive studies on drainage. As you guys all know from living in St. Charles Parish, drainage is a key issue, as well as safety. We'll touch on both those things. Drainage, we spent a fair amount of time studying that, and we can walk you through some of those maps. The facility is really designed to be in the state of the art, a new idea of how we approach ammonia production, how we approach the pollution aspects of it. Historically, they would use steam methane reforming for ammonia. We're using a facility called a technology called autothermal reforming, and the real benefit of that is that we're able to capture our CO2 at the front end of the facility. Typically, when you talk about capturing CO2, it's usually from flue gas. It's got other things involved. In our case, we're capturing in its purest form from the synthetic gas. So therefore, we can get to levels that have not been achieved before. So we had a guarantee from our technology provider for 99% capture, and we anticipate getting to that level. The technology itself for CO2 capture is not unique. It's a well-proven design. It's just the nature of how we approach it is what makes it unique. The project itself is about a $4.5 billion investment into St. Charles Parish. That's for approximately one train is about $4.5 billion. We'll have a second train, which will be around $3 billion in total capital costs. When we first started this project, costs were considerably lower. And over time, with inflation and the competitive nature of how projects are being built, particularly in various industries, price of steel, etc. cost. John Wise will have about, on average, 1,000 workers during construction during the 4-year construction period. It'll peak around 2,000. Our full-time wage for the first train will be about 160 people, with about another 40 to 50 people added for the second train. The jobs themselves are fairly attractive. Their average salaries are about 80,000. It's a well-trained workforce, so we are looking to build our workforce within the St. Rose and St. Charles area, because we believe that's our sort of our guiding mission, is to try to look at how do we gain from the expertise in the area, and those people that don't have the expertise, how do we provide the training to help them get. I tried over to John about some of the safety mechanisms that we deploy.
Yeah, that's very so thanks for your time. My name's John Bagley. My background, I'm a chemical engineer, and I've been building energy facilities for 45 years now. I think John, when we said 60 years, he didn't get branch. I've been getting up years now, enough years in there. We're looking to make ammonia plant. This is an ammonia plant. What it is, it's an energy plant. Ammonia has been produced synthetically like this for well over 100 years. So this is nothing new. Louisiana is a huge producer of ammonia. The United States is a big producer of ammonia. Historically, ammonia has been used for fertilizer production. And so most of the plants that are in Louisiana are located a little further off the river, more toward Donaldsonville and up, because they were shipping their product to be more fertilized. The world's changing. There's still interest in fertilizer, but what the interest in our facility is actually clean fuel. And historically, when you burn fuels, they make carbon dioxide. Whether you agree that carbon dioxide is leading to climate change and severe climate, it doesn't really matter. The world is interested in a fuel that produces less carbon dioxide, both in the production and in the use. And Louisiana, a lot of your history, a lot of your tax revenues have come from the energy industry, but that interest is changing. And the project really gives you an opportunity to change a little way. As I said, the ammonia typically, ammonia, it's a nitrogen-free hydrogens. And what it gets used as fertilizer, and what the fertilizer's after is the nitrogen. What we're after is the hydrogen to use that as a fuel. So we've got something that's been produced in Louisiana for decades. It's been shipped up and down the Mississippi River for decades. It has a really well-established safety record associated with it. There's governing the safety overall. There's EPA and OSHA. They've got systems called process safety management and risk management programs, and we have those established for this project. But on top of that, we use a program called Layers of Protection, and there's a nice little slide on back over there if you get a chance to look at it. But fundamentally, we have a layers of protection. We have a series of barriers that get from where something is dangerous. And ammonia does not burn. Ammonia does not explode. It's an interesting fuel. It doesn't burn, but you have to get it really excited to burn, kind of like heavy oils. But in concentrated forms, it's not good for. So ammonia is everywhere. Your body actually produces ammonia. It's a naturally occurring chemical. Ammonia is really the number one produced synthetic compound in the world. It's used in cosmetics. It's used in shampoos. It's used in body washers. So, but always in dilute concentrations. And so, what our goal is from safety is to make sure nobody is ever exposed to concentrated ammonia, because concentrated ammonia is dangerous. The reason it's dangerous is it likes water, and so if you happen to spill it on your hand, it would try to get the water out of your hand, And so that's why it makes like burn. It's like a freeze burn. And so our job is to make sure that nobody is ever exposed to concentrated ammonia. Small amounts, no problem. Like I say, your body makes ammonia, but it's dilute. And so the way we do this is layers of protection. So we don't have just one barrier that keeps you away. It's like if you had ammonia in a jar and it's sitting there, a jar will break, be exposed to it. Okay. So between that jar of ammonia where you're standing, there's at least 12 barriers that get, you'd say, it starts from design, the codes, the standards, the proven industry ways to make ammonia safe. It goes into the operators that run the plant, the computer systems that run the plant, the backup active systems that keep the plant safe, the systems in the back goes up if the system is coming into an unsafe situation. We have both active systems that shut off valves and spray water and keep everything well, and we have passive systems like separation distances and materials that we use. So in between where you are, whether you're driving by on the road or an operator in our plant, and where the ammonia is, again, we use this layers of protection to make sure that even if there is an incident, there's always something behind it. And if there's another incident, there's something behind there. If there's another incident, there's something behind there until it gets out. And the last layer of this, we'll have a very robust emergency notification system also, because it will honestly never get there, but in case there is some emergency that no one predicted, we'll have a notification system also. Hello, Ramesh.
Sure, well, there's questions around that. In terms of community engagement, we are really interested in hearing from community. We're interested in participating in community. One of the things that we did early on, as we did our outreach, we worked with IMTT, the Ed Reed Foundation, the United Way, the St. Charles School Board, ABC River Parishes to form an organization called Hub St. Rose. And the genesis of that really was what we heard from residents prior to that was that yes, industries come in that promised us work, but no one's ever delivered. And our view was always how do we change that idea? How do we change that process? So we wanted to hear from the various constituents and the educators, and put a group of people in the room to resolve this issue. And I think that's the goal of Hub St. Rose. That's a continuing goal of ours. We work with we have done some training sessions at ABC, and frankly, some folks don't even know the resources there, and that's part of our task is making sure that people that might be interested in these types of trades, whether it be electrical, welding, plumbing, plant operator, that they know the tools are available. The school system, I believe, has the ability to send some of these folks into ABC from junior year on, but a lot of the kids still are not aware of it. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do in the outreach program is to make sure that people are aware, and we'll certainly help facilitate that as we go through this process. I think that's all I have, Chandra. Anything else to add?
John, what did you talk about our system a little bit? And so,
The water system, the water system drainage, in terms of drainage.
well, in terms of how it shuts ammonia down.
Oh yeah. So what is back to sage again, because that's really so important. One of the interesting things about ammonia was as I mentioned, it's hydroscopic, which means it likes moisture. And ammonia is really easy to detect. Sometimes plants have difficulties knowing that they have a problem, but ammonia, that's not an issue. It's actually the detectors for it are very good. And what we're doing is anything in the plant that contains ammonia, we've got surrounded with a water spray system. And so if there is a leak from any individual component in the plant, the valve, flange, the various things that can leak, we've got water spray systems pre-positioned. And as soon as there's a leak of ammonia, you basically spray water at it. That knocks the ammonia down and turns it into an ammonia water solution. And that's just basically household cleanser. It's the same thing you buy at the grocery store. And so it the the ammonia just really likes the water. And then around the periphery of the facility, in addition to on the equipment itself, around the periphery of the facility, we're putting firewater monitors and spray systems. And so if there were a leak, it's gotten through my 11 of my 12 barriers. We've got water spray systems ringing the facility where it'll knock the cloud dead and keep from getting out into the community. We do this first and foremost for our operators because they're in the plant and they're close to it. But after the operators, we're looking after to make sure our neighbors at IMTT who are close aren't in any danger, and we're looking after neighbors in the neighborhood who are in any danger.
By the drainage.
Yeah, just to add to what John was saying earlier, I could also about that to drainage. We have as he mentioned that we have regulations from the EPA risk management plan, but we also have Coast Guard, and then one of the things that we have to do to provide the Coast Guard comfort with what we were doing is provide them with a risk management plan. So that's part of our approval process, and we are undergoing that as well. So that there's not just U.S. Corps of Engineers. There's various agencies within the federal government and state government, but there's also folks like Coast Guard that are looking at this project.
So water drainage, yeah. So this is another area that we put a lot of time on. We know everybody's concerned about. We're in a low-lying area. It doesn't take much you even want to cause problems. We've done a number of studies. They're called hydraulic and hydrology studies, and basically, we may not know the whole area that we're in here drains north from the river to Lake Pontchartrain, and that's the natural drainage. It's downhill that way. The river is above seawall, Lake Pontchartrain sewer, and so it drains in that direction. The problem is that we have today is that there's things in the way of getting the water from, the river bank area all the way to Lake Pontchartrain. There's railroad tracks, there's roads, there's levees that the water has to get across. Once that water gets all the way up to the levee at Lake Pontchartrain, the amount of pumping capacity that's in there to get the water over the levee is huge. And that's not the problem. Most of the problem you'll see with drainage in this area is getting water past the railroad tracks because the railroads are built up as berms that act like natural dams to the water. And so when we build where we are, which is north of IMTT, we're building in an area that the IMTT property drains into on its way to Lake Pontchartrain. Okay, so we have to do something to make sure we don't back up water onto IMTT. If we just let it push around IMTT, what that would do is it would raise water levels on the other side of the railroad tracks, which can cause water to back up in the neighborhoods in the air. Of course, that's completely unacceptable. And so what we've done is we've hired some consultants that came in and gave us the designs that we have to put in place in order to make sure there's no negative impact on any existing drainage in the area. And so the charts over here showed fundamentally we're talking about drainage pathways that are 60-foot wide canals, two of them that run away from our facility to make sure there's no impacts. And the studies, and these are very sophisticated modeling studies, show that in the presence of our facility has no impact on IMTT's property and no impact on any of the neighborhoods in the parish of Rocks. That said, we also have aspirations to do something to make it a bit better. So it's easy not to make it worse, or we're going to do that. But there is flooding on River Road. There is flooding in the neighborhoods adjacent to the existing IOTT property today, or heavy rainfalls, and particularly at the northern ends of these areas. And the reason for that is the water doesn't get past the railroad tracks. Fundamentally, the designs just aren't good. Preston Howell also has underwater drainage problems when we didn't make the drainways big enough. So as part of our commitment to the community, we're looking to make improvements to the existing drainage system so that when we're done, it not only won't be worse, it'll actually be better and means that some of the existing flooding problems we could solve. So as Ramesh mentioned, we have a very big budget. It's a very expensive facility to build. One of the nice things about that is you can carve out some fairly small slices that are big enough to make a difference in the community areas.
Ramesh, we'll talk a little bit about why state roads and like.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, John. So we did look at a number of sites on the river. One of the things that was really paramount for us was finding a site that not only had the infrastructure, but we didn't have to build another dock. There are some locations upriver that don't have a dock or have a dock that's privately owned. Uh, we just didn't see those as being options. So for a variety of reasons, some were farmland, some were close, some were challenging from a navigational perspective. We consulted with the river pilots in some of those locations, and then so we ended up coming down to IMTT, looked at how large what we had to do on the docks to accept the ammonia vessels. It was really just loading arms and pipe rack facilities. The existing docks could be used. There was no additional infrastructure. There's no additional uh, impacts related to that facility itself. So that made it a very interesting location for us. Uh, in addition, when you downriver this way, it's you are you're getting closer to the Gulf. You save time, and if our product is going to export, it's gonna have an impact on that duration of travel. But the primary reason was really looking at dock work, looking at river flows, discussing things with the pilot associations. There have been a number of projects that have been announced in sites that we've looked at, and for whatever reason they may have chosen those sites. We just took.
Yeah, Ramesh, we also like your separation distance from any of the existing communities.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that we had uh, challenges with some of the other locations. While even if they were farmland, the proximity to residents or proximities to other areas of habitation were too close. Uh, we are set back quite a ways here. We're in the cross slope. You can see some of the maps back there, but we're set back far enough away that we have a natural vary. Going back to the community involvement and when we talk about jobs, we look at a project like this is really it's almost the project for the future. If you look at ammonia being used as a fuel, it's only starting to occur. And you're going to start seeing more facilities being built, not just in Louisiana or the U.S., but globally, because there's going to be a much higher demand for hydrogen or clean fuels as opposed to and you were seeing and with even the shipping companies who are switching to dual fuel vessels, and one of the fuels being ammonia. It's a challenge for those that particularly in Europe and Asia that are trying to manage carbon intensity. Uh, and 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 by and having a fuel like ammonia helps them achieve that. But what it means for the workforce is that they'll have significant opportunities in this space. We c- we can we can capitalize on the training facilities that exist today because the skill sets are very similar. But the difference being the skill sets are being used for a hydrogen fuel or clean fuel compared to historic. Questions, cousin?
Okay, we have some specific questions that they may have not answered. I'm gonna read, and then after, you can mingle and talk with the project team, and I do more questions if you have. So first question, okay, Where can we find your specific evaluation plan for our neighborhood in case of a major ammonia release?
So the specific plan for your neighborhood. Yeah, so we don't really have a neighborhood by neighborhood plan, but we do look at where in an ammonia release ammonia could go. Uh, it's interesting. St. Charles Parish has a requirement that new industrial facilities have a minimum of a 2,000-foot setback from any existing residences. I did know that, but your parish has that requirement. One thing that's interesting is when you do detailed studies of ammonia releases, you'll find that the ammonia never goes that far. Ammonia is lighter than air, so it does raise, and it does warm up and dissipate. So even with no mitigation, even without my water sprays, which will be there, ammonia actually doesn't reach any existing essences. And so a model doesn't really show anything because the ammonia never reaches in rain.
Next question. If the Trump administration cuts tax credits incentives, is it still a viable project?
Ramos, I'll let you answer the all.
I think, there's several types of typos. There's 45Qs, which are carbon sequestration credits. There are V, which are hydrogen credits. We will. The project remains viable if the credits are adjusted for that. I don't know how far they will get adjusted. The Qs are they've been through several administrations, so it's not something that was new as part of IRA. There are some other provisions that for the hydrogen credits that were new, and we have to really rely on them.
I mean, there's other challenges that could come out of a heat equation too. Tariffs are particularly good for us. Tariffs on imported materials. One advantage we have, though, is the importing countries that want to buy our product that's made here actually have incentives also. So Korea, Japan, Europe all add incentives to use zero carbon fuels into their countries. And so it's not just the U.S. incentives that are available. There are importing nation incentives also that are available to us.
Ramsey, can you started the project before the IRA?
Yeah, we started the project about a year before the IRA, so we weren't really relying on the tax credits at that time. We were really looking at having spoken to folks in Japan and Europe and Korea. We knew that there was going to be a demand for clean fuel, clean ammonia. We knew that carbon sequestration has been done. We knew that ammonia didn't have any carbon in it. So we, having our own experience in the fertilizer space, we sort of concluded that this ammonia was going to be a good carrier of hydrogen, and we could do it in a clean fashion and drive them on in that way.
Yeah, straight. Okay, John, will there be more structures, including Dyson platforms, built?
So we are not going to build any additional this project does not build any additional dock simple severe. I think the answer I probably should sort of talk to that. Everything we're doing stays within the confines of the existing IMTT dock structure.
The USACE documents show plans for multiple new structures, including docks and platforms. Can you explain this discrepancy?
Yeah, so there are docks. So she thinks.
New structures, sir.
Yeah, but they're inside the existing footprint of the existing docks, and so if you go on, they basically go look at what we're doing specifically is go to our Army Corps comment, which shows everything that's wrong and what's the river. But fundamentally, IMTT, if you think of IMTT's existing facilities, they have 8 or 9 docks up there, including barge loading. If you look at like a rectangle of what they have in the river, we're not building anything that's outside of that rectangle.
But it's still a new structure that you're building.
Yeah, absolutely. So
when you think about a new structure, it's loading locks, right, on the dock.
But y'all
The-
said no new structures at the lab.
We said no new dock structures. There'll be a loading arm that's added onto the dock because
He said in an interview with WGNO that no new structures. It's recorded. We can look it up.
Sure. That's fine. It's good. Inside the docks, if they're at the edge of the water, inside of the docks, there's a couple of small structures there for water intake. So fresh water intake out of the river. But again, they're not anything out in the river further that gets in the way of existing ships. It just emerges, barge operations, boat stream, none of these enough in the river.
What is the EPCRA worst case scenario?
EPCRA. I'm familiar with that acronym.
Emergency Slightly Community Right to Know Ass. Okay, by the 80s.
we would, yeah, I mean, it's the emergency operation system.
Yeah.
Up there, just how we would address.
Yeah.
So the details of that haven't been written. The had that with the St. Charles Parish Emergency Response. What is the name of the deal?
Yeah. I do have moves. I need to
It's the EOSD.
Some
The Emergency Operations Center.
yeah,
Like St. Charles.
yeah. So we have without. I can't answer up top of my head exactly, but whatever the requirements are, we meet all of the requirements. We have regulatory experts to make sure we meet or exceed every customer report.
typically when you have your final design on the EBC, you'll be working with emergency response, and that plan gets enacted at that point, and it gets defined at that point as you get closer to the operations.
I'll say is I think you really already answered it. I had written it down earlier, but you talked about what would happen if there was a big release. And that's really what that's about. So I think you already answered that. You were saying that the ammonia would rise, it wouldn't go into the community.
No, it doesn't treat that. That's correct. It doesn't point out.
Nice. What? Sean, one last question, and then we'll transition to the open house. All right. It's a couple of questions about class 6 well, and this sequestering of CO2. Can you?
Yeah, range contacts. People may talk to Moss as well. Seriously.
Yes. And if the launch plant were to be completed for CO2 sequestration infrastructure, would the plant operate as ground mounted plant?
No. So the second risk is no. We're not going to initiate construction until we have a line sight on a class 6 well to put the CO2 in the up for the job with it in the ground. We don't have permits to that. We haven't requested permits to do those kind of emissions.
Right. So EPA doesn't have or the DEQ Cleaner Act doesn't regulate CO2, but what regulates us are our buyers, and our overall plan. With what we submitted to the Corps of Engineers, what we submitted to DEQ. There are statements in there that indicate that we're going to capture the CO2. So there's a variety of layers that prevent us from doing that, and there's no intention of doing that.
Well, EPA exists. Yeah. Well, LDEQ always exists.
But can we trust them?
Department of Environmental Quality. They're where we get the air compass from. EPA looks over their shoulder, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. I answered the questions, and we're gonna transition to open house, so you can take a look at the visuals they brought, and the team is definitely staying around. So if you have any visuals,
Before we do that,
yes, sir.
the residential site roads, because of the experiences that they've been having for the past 30 years, 40 years, with IMTT and some of the emittents that they're putting in the atmosphere, how will you all prevent that? because this blue ammonia project, this is new. And anything new, you don't have all the bugs out of it yet. You're going to have some releases. And ammonia is, and what we all need to be aware of, ammonia is very, very deadly. It dissipates the oxygen out of the air. If you get a large enough ammonia release, the people on the fence line in St. Rose, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Street, Preston Hollows, Diane Place, St. Rose Avenue, those people are in a direct fallout. If there would be a large enough release of that ammonia, that these people will be killed. That's the concern that they have right now. So, what do you have in place? And I see on your board all of the safety backups that you have. It's great. I've worked over 45 years in the industry, and I've got a coworker that's sitting over here right now that can back me up. Accidents happen, and to put that in someone's backyard per se, that potential for deadly release, explosions, releases to the wetland and all of that. How are you going to ensure that the residents of St. Rose are safe?
And it's not just St. Rose. Destrehan is in the 2-mile radius as well.
All right. I'm going to get to that. 3 mile.
So we went over that there are several layers protection. When you talk about ammonia releases, first off, I can't talk about IMTT. That's something different. I will say that IMTT has a lot of open systems, so your systems that vent to the atmosphere. We have the open systems in our facility. Everything is contained. It's just a much newer way of designing plants. Even ammonia plants. I started up ammonia plants in the 1990s, and we had vents that went to the atmosphere. The ammonia was just vented to the atmosphere. Today we don't do that. In one of the worst case scenarios, the ammonia bursts to a flare. The ammonia floor has fire in it that burns the ammonia up and somehow where to keep it safe. And I'm telling you, even there, we both stuck is that when there's a release of ammonia, it does an outreach and you're behind.
I have a list of ammonia-related incident for December 2023, December the 13th, 2023 to December the 13th, 2024, last year. 3 pages of incidents where there had been ammonia releases that involved fatalities.
Okay. They have to move on because this meeting is an hour and we still have to do our open house portion of it. I want to hear it. We do have 15 minutes. So, and other people may want to ask questions while online. So if we need to transition to the open house.
All right. Well, I understand that, but what we make you, if I want to make my neighbors, my residents in Ormond aware that we're not exempt from some type of heavy release or an explosion at that plant that you're planning on building in St. Rose. The wind blows this way, we are in a fallout area for potential harm to ourselves with the air we breathe, not only for us now, but our children and our grandchildren in the future. This is a fairly new procedure that this blue ammonia. And I just want you to tell the people the truth.
Well, this ammonia project, if it's blue ammonia, the only difference is that we capture CO2. from the other ammonia projects that have been around for 50, 60 years. So it's really not that different.
So these releases that I have, and I have copies of them, by the time to say, and then the other, and the people in St. Rose, the St. Rose community, from the St. Rose Jefferson Parish line to the Destrehan St. Rose line. I've got over 600 signed petitions from the Rubicats stating that they're in opposition of the building of this facility. And we've been in communication with you and with LDEQ. And we're waiting to hear from LDEQ what their decision on that. Are we just going to go over the heads of the residents of St. Rose, of the St. Rose community, who say that they do not want this facility built in their backyard? Are you just going to go over their head and build it anyway?
Okay, we have to move on. We have it for an hour. We have an agenda. We have to stick to the agenda. But they will be here to mix mingle, answer more questions, talk to you one-on-one. But we have to move on to that part. We have to give other people a chance to talk to the team. So thank you.
Thank you.
Where does the captured CO2 go to?
Underground is question.
No, where specifically?
Go to,
You got to put it somewhere in that pipe.
plan, right? You have a plan for where you're going to send it. Where are you going to send into? Where's the plan? What's the plan? Hasn't been analyzed yet.
Then why are you rebuilding?
What's being prepared?
Because we are still in negotiations with a third party who's doing that. So at the point at which those negotiations are finalized, that information will be made for public knowledge. Then now I understand that we want to transition to this part of, and we appreciate all of your passion and your interest in the project. And this is why we're here. We're going to continue to have open houses, and we hope that you will attend again so that you can come learn more about the project. But we're here for at least the next 15 minutes so that we can talk to you guys in the back as you can look through some of the displays and have some additional conversation. So thank you again so much for joining us tonight.
So wait, we get to know y'all, but y'all don't know us.
No, and that's not the case at all. We've actually been on the ground for 3 years in this community, in this parish. And you can come get to know us in the back. We want you to.
No, the other way around. Y'all get to know us, not us get to know y'all.
Let's have some additional conversation in the back. And listen, we're happy to have some additional conversation to begin. We really are.
The construction started on this facility.
To the top. Hey up for everybody is he's
But in making plans of gas.
Might as well say it.
So they're making plans, but they have no plans.
That's right. They're going to build a facility, although they claim they have nowhere in mind to put this CO2. And they're going to disregard the concerns, the very valid concerns of community members who are concerned about ammonia
Then the
toxicity.
deal will be made with the person that owns the property. And no,
That was state property. So Jeff Landry sold that. Well, not him personally,
we
but
would have
state
to
did.
say so as to
Right. What happened in our own community.
close to other communities because we are in November. Where that story did